Before we get to the show on the road today, we have a very special announcement, and I'm going to cut live to Darren Fletcher to bring it to you.
Right, everybody, tune in to Pass the Mike's takeover of the Scotland v Czech Republic game on the Scotland National Team YouTube channel. Come on, Scotland!
Pass the Mic will be going live on location from the Glasgow Drygate Brewery on Monday for the Scotland vs Czech Republic match for the opening game of our Euros campaign. Oh my goodness. We are going to be live on the Scotland National Team YouTube channel, and I cannot believe this is actually happening. 1st of August last year, we started Pass the Mic as a show, and after one complete season, here we are live at the Euros, and it's all thanks to you guys watching at home. But anyway, without further ado, here's our preview of the group. We've got Anita from Croatia, we've got Krystof from the Czech Republic, and James from England joining with us in the podcast to talk about the whole group as a whole. We'll be live for an hour, but thank you very much everyone for watching, and enjoy the rest of the video. Hey guys, Goggsy here, and welcome to a very special video, something different on the channel today. We have been joined by Krystof from the Czech Republic.
Hey everyone.
We've been joined by James, who is from England.
Hello.
And we've also been joined by Anita from Croatia. How's it going, everyone?
Hello.
It's good.
Yes.
Yeah, good, thank you. Looking
So
forward to it.
Basically, what we're going to do today is we're going to do a wee preview of the group that we have all been assigned to in the Euros. This is something I've never done before. I've never done any proper competition international tournaments because Scotland have never been good enough to get there. So it's very refreshing to actually be part of the big boys or girls. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming on, and I've basically just got a few questions to ask the panelists so I can learn a wee bit more about each of the teams. So first of all, I'm going to go to Krystof first. What is the general feeling in the Czech Republic ahead of the tournament?
I would say everyone is being quite positive this year. I mean, we've had quite a bad run in the last Euros, but now I feel like we could be one of the biggest surprises of the tournament, and everyone is placing their bets on the team to make it at least to the round of 16. But I would also say that the quarterfinals aren't that far away. But yeah, I would say everyone is being much more positive than when it. Like then at the time of the Euro 2016 or the past World Cup, which we didn't even qualify to.
Mm-hmm. Of course. So James, is it coming home this year?
I have been considering whether to use that phrase at any stage, sort of, or not, because obviously it's it got banded about quite a lot 3 years ago and in between. But I think there does seem to be quite a lot of optimism. It's always difficult to read because I think, and this is probably the same in any country to some extent, you're always sort of cautious to be too optimistic because obviously, especially with England in the past, there have been plenty of tournaments where there's been optimism and that's not been matched by any means by the performance of the team, and it feels like sometimes there's a sort of negative correlation, I suppose, between levels of optimism and how the team does, so there's inevitable caution on that front. But I think you look at the depth we seem to have in the squad compared to previous tournaments and the number of options there seem to be, and the way in which you look at with how when the squad does get cut down to 26 from 33, it feels like it's going to be harsh on a number of people who don't get into it. Again, reflects sort of the quality that seems to be there. So I think considering that, there seems to be quite a lot of optimism with regards to the options England have and how far they could go in the tournament. And you look at the potential for home advantage to impact that as well. then there's reasons to be optimistic, but I think cautious optimism might be a bit of a buzzword possibly over the next few weeks, and hopefully next month or so. That'll be a good sign also if we're still talking about it sort of towards the latter end of June and beyond.
Of course. Anita, what is the feel in Croatia like?
Well, we are always very optimistic and thinking that we are the best team around. And I mean, the World Cup we had in 2018 really helps that feeling, because it was really a fantastic tournament. And I mean, the feeling surrounding football in Croatia is always very positive, very optimistic going forward. And we are always expecting a lot from the team, which is a good and a bad thing when you think about it. Puts a bit of a pressure on the players and the manager and all of that. And the team is a bit different than it was in 2018. We lost a few players who retired from the national team, so that would be a bit of a challenge for our manager to set up, the team that is working well together. The qualifications haven't been perfect. Some matches were just fighting through getting the points and trying to win and qualify, but in the end, I mean, the feeling is still pretty optimistic. We still have a really good team, especially forward, and the midfield defense is so, but still quite optimistic. I'd say going through the group is definitely a must, and a realistic expectation. I would say quarterfinals maybe would be my prediction.
Mm-hmm. Of course, and here in Scotland, we're just glad that we're there. Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, looking at how the fixtures and the way we've been looking at things is the fact we've got the Czech Republic first. Of course, we've beaten them twice in the Nations League recently, although one was because they were fielding a second squad. We're looking at that as our must-win game. As the game, if we start with a win, and then we go into the England game, we've got nothing to lose. England could potentially be a free hit, and then just hopefully look at maybe picking up another point. You only really need 4 points to go through now. Is probably a fair reflection of it. But the thing is, if we don't win against the Czech Republic, we are pretty much out, in my opinion.
You have the advantage of home field advantage as well, just like England.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. We've got Hampden twice, but I'm a bit confused to why the game's at Wembley when we play England. Maybe they should have it up at Hampden.
would have been good if they. I must admit, I'm not sure what the sort of kind of process was with deciding that. You do wonder whether they could have sort of like tossed for it or whatever. I know it's hardly the most scientific kind of but I think I'm guessing they just assign fixtures and then go from there. But yeah, you look at it does make you wonder.
Or maybe they should have just had it at the Millennium Stadium.
Yeah. Just a bit. That's not a bad shout at all.
Yeah.
At least you will have some fans. I mean, it's a really struggle for our fans and Czech Republic fans as well, because not many will travel from Croatia, and I'm sure from Czech Republic either, which is really not fair, I'd say.
Because,
very true, very true.
Yeah.
It's pretty poor that the fact that it's the timing of like how they were going to have several host cities, and it was because of it being like the 50th anniversary of the first Euros tournament, and it's collided with COVID and basically everyone having to travel so much. It's just so unfortunate for the majority of the fans.
Yeah, the fact it's pan-European at this time of all times is very, very unfortunate, isn't it? As you say, and it would have been. It's a brilliant prospect in sort of a kind of normal kind of era, so to speak. Very, very overused word at the moment, normal, obviously. But
Yeah, I actually had tickets for the Wembley match against England, but had to refund them because it's quite impossible to travel, and the restrictions, we have to self-isolate for 10 days before when we enter UK. So it's just, you need basically like 2 or 3 weeks off to go to one match or something like that. It's really tough, impossible, basically.
And of course,
luckily, lots of people from Croatia live in England and UK, so they'll probably come.
But there's
these restrictions. Yeah, sorry, but these restrictions. I just wanted to say, like, these restrictions are super tough because the Czech national team, they're playing in Scotland, and after every single game, they will go back to Prague and then travel.
Same with us. Same with us, yeah. Same with us, because the Scottish restrictions are even more strict than English ones. So it's really, the decision was made today, actually, on Monday for Croatia as well. So it's.
I would like to apologise on behalf of my nation for that.
You can give us a goal or two, maybe. That would be a good
apology. I mean, we won't even score one, but I will give you a handicap. Don't worry. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. We'll start with Krystof. What is, in your opinion, the strongest starting 11 for the Czech Republic?
So I should just name my starting 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Luckily, I actually have the squad right in front of me, so it wouldn't be too hard. Let's put Jiří Pavlenka, the goalkeeper of Werder Bremen, into goal. Like, for me, that's the safest goal out of all three. Vaclík also pretty all right, but I think Pavlenka is the safest bet here. As for our defense, that is really quite difficult because we don't have a lot of good center backs, but they will definitely want to play 4 in defense. So left back, Jan Bořil, then center backs. I just have to put Čelůstka in, who is not that good. He actually had a very terrible World Cup qualifiers performance, but there is no other option than him. And alongside him, probably, I think Barabec, and I don't like him, so I don't want to say this, but yeah, let's put him in. And right back, either Kadeřábek from Hoffenheim or Zofal from West Ham. They're probably going to play 5 in the midfield. So I feel like the midfield is really our strongest. That's where we're the strongest on the pitch. So Darida, Souček, Král, these 3 are the absolutely must starters in every single game. And then to accompany them, I think Jakub Jankto should start, and Adam Hložek, the homegrown talent of Sparta Prague. He actually is one of the most exciting prospects. So I would definitely love our coach giving him a chance, at least in the starting 11 against Scotland, for example. He is not that experienced, but he could definitely be one of the greater players on the pitch. But if not him, then probably Antonín Barák. And as they like to play with only one lone striker, Patrik Schick. That's absolutely the safest bet.
That's a very strong squad anyway. I mean, I'm trying to compare Scotland to the Czech Republic. It's very difficult to even think who could come out on top in that opening fixture. James, you've got a plethora of talent, 33 players to sort of narrow down to a starting 11. Go on. Who's in your starting 11 for England?
It is a tricky one, which again, as we sort of touched on earlier, is a positive in a lot of ways, that it feels maybe a trickier decision than previous years. I think at the moment there's obviously a few doubts over injury. Like, for instance, the one I've put down has got Maguire in, and I think it's really sort of not certain whether he's going to be fit by the looks of it, because I think the injury he got was quite bad, ankle ligaments. But one of the ones I've got is and I think there's a reasonable chance Southgate might go with this, is Pickford in goal, then back four of Walker, who seems to be sort of in prime position for that right back slot at the moment. Again, we're particularly lucky in that position with Trent, Trippier and Reece James, who's obviously just won the Champions League, and there's obviously a good chance that one of those four, probably not Walker, one of those four misses out, which will be very, very harsh on whoever it is. I think there is a scenario where all four go, potentially, because Southgate touched on the other day when he was doing his press conference for the 33-man squad how they can play in different positions, all of them. So we'll have to see. And then Stones and Maguire at centre-back. I think they look like our strongest pairing by probably a reasonable distance on paper, but again, obviously Maguire's fitness is a doubt. Then Shaw at left back, but I think again that's a really, really tough call. Like Chilwell was excellent on Saturday in the Champions League final, but I think maybe Shaw's slightly more accustomed to playing in a back four. That might be something that works in his favour, sort of having played in the back four all this season with United. But again, Chilwell has made a really good case for himself over recent weeks. The midfield three of Henderson, Rice sort of sitting in the six, and Mount. Again, obviously Henderson's fitness is sort of something that's been a question mark over recent weeks. He's been he was in training sort of the last few days for Liverpool and was on the bench against Crystal Palace last game of the season. And he's been obviously in England training over recent days, and hopefully he'll feature in both friendlies, assuming he's in the 26th. So hopefully that will help him. I think that could have a decent balance to it if they go with that three. But again, there's other options like Bellingham as well. Like it looks like there's every chance Bellingham will be in the 26th, and at the age he is, that's an exceptional reflection on what he's offered this year at Dortmund and for England when he's featured. And then front three of Foden, Kane, and Sterling. But I think could make a case for maybe Sancho, one of those positions as well, in perhaps Sterling's position, or Grealish. But the one thing that someone like Sterling or Sancho offers you, particularly Sterling, is that real threat in behind, sort of raw pace, and he's an outball potentially, which you may need in games when you're under the cosh a bit more. So that would be the team 4-3-3 with those guys. But again, I think we're lucky to have different options, and hopefully we'll be flexible in terms of the shapes we can play, maybe a 3-4-3 as well, and the players we can use. And we should have a clearer idea tomorrow as well. I don't know when squad numbers come out actually, because I always think squad numbers is a point where it can be interesting to see who gets. Don't know if any of you guys have an idea of when they come out. Tomorrow or.
Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff. Anita, tell us a bit about Croatia. What is your starting 11 for Croatia?
Well, we also, just like others, have a few different variations. Similar players, maybe like one or two differences in each of the sections of the field, but similar to Czech Republic, we have the goalkeeper option pretty much picked out at the start. It's Livakovic from Dinamo, which I think you guys met when they played against Tottenham. He did really well. He's a really good shot stopper and really good young goalkeeper. In defense, now there have been some issues with Dejan Lovren, who you all know from the Premier League, who has developed some injury when he just came to meet up with the national team. So he's a doubt. I think that he will definitely miss the England match. He's always our first choice in defense, so we will have to play against England without him. Duecale Tatar will probably play in his position. He's from Marseille, paired with Vida. And then when Lovren recovers, I think that Lovren and Vida will again be the pairing in the middle of defense. Vrsaljko from Atletico will probably be on the right back. He's a really good player, and we miss him when he was injured for a while. And on the other side, we have Barisic from Rangers, who's really a decent player, really good, and Bradrić as well, who just won the French league with Lille as well. So both are really good options. I think that Barisic will play against England And then we come to midfield where there is so many options. We are really, again, blessed with talent and really good players that Dalic has really sweet troubles to pick out who to go with. There are some rumor suggestions that he will go with 4-2-3-1 for England match with Brozovic and Modric playing in midfield together. And then Rebic, Vlasic and Perisic up front with Petkovic from Dinamo as a lone striker up front. And the other option is Kovacic, who just won Champions League again. Kovacic, Modric, obviously, he's undroppable unless he gets injured or something. So Kovacic, Modric, and Vlasic together in midfield. Vlasic is a really good player playing in the Russian league, and he's really performed really well for the national team whenever he got to play. And then Rebic and Kramaric, who again is one of the best strikers in Bundesliga. But the issue here is that he loves to play in the same position as Vlasic. So it's pick one or the other, or put Vlasic maybe more in the midfield and put Kramaric ahead. And Perisic, who is also much like Modric, one of the undroppables, you'd say, because of the status he has in the national team and again the quality he offers to the team as well. So really lots of options, more in midfield and going forward. So it would be interesting to see how we'll line up.
Of course, yeah. I'm just hoping that we just keep our undefeated run against Croatia, because Croatia is like one of the few teams that we've not lost against yet. But it's sounding very more. The more you speak, the more difficult it sounds with the more players you name. I'm just hoping that we can keep them at bay. For Scotland,
it's not the same with England, because you have a group, you have really fantastic quality players, but it's on the manager's job to make a good team from them. You can have like expensive players, top of interleagues and all that, but if they don't work together, it's a really difficult situation. So I think it's a really tough job for England manager and for our manager as well.
Of course it is. For Scotland, my ideal Scotland team would be playing a back five, because we're that team. We're just going to be that team. Close everything out. I just feel it. It would be in goals. We'll have David Marshall. Right back, Motherwell's player Stephen O'Donnell. Then probably a back three, I would say, of Liam Cooper of Leeds United, Scott McTominay of Man United. He's been playing there when we've played international matches. And we'll have Kieran Tierney making up the left centre back of Arsenal. Left wing back, we'll have Andrew Robertson, the Liverpool player. You'll be very fond of, Jim. And then a midfield three of John McGinn of Aston Villa. I want to say, to be different, I want to see the Champions League winner, Kelly Gilmer, because I think he's going to be really exciting. He's going to light up the tournament if he gets any time on the ball. And I also want to say David Turnbull, who's signed for Celtic from Motherwell, a club record fee for my team, and he was absolutely amazing in an absolutely terrible Celtic team this season. But I think it'll be Stuart Armstrong that starts instead of Turnbull in the first game anyway. Up front, I think we'll have Lyndon Dykes and Shea Adams up front. Shea Adams, who have just switched nationality recently, just so he can play in the Euros. But yeah, it's going to be very difficult for us to make an impression at this tournament. But as long as we steal the hearts of many, that's all that matters for us. Yeah,
it's. I think you guys have sort of some really interesting options actually. Like Gilmore, I think you touch on there is sort of whenever he plays for Chelsea, and I know that's obviously different team, different system at times. Although I suppose recently it's not that different to what you guys would play, because I think he did play as a like lone six, as they called it recently, in one of Chelsea's games. So he's obviously, whenever you see him on the ball, he does not look the age he is. He looks so assured and so mature.
I just can't believe he's 2 years younger than me. Like,
yeah, it's unsettling, isn't it?
It's so unsettling. Thing is, he made the move from Rangers to Chelsea at the age of 14, and I was just sitting there like, what am I doing with my life?
It gets worse when you get to 30.
No comment.
It's close to retiring. My age.
It is just sort of strange because of course when you're growing up, you're used to sort of always like looking up at these sort of these people, so to speak, and then when you become sort of a similar kind of age, it does become a bit odd.
Yeah,
especially when you go like, are we paying this much for a 28-year-old? He's old, and you're 31 or something. It's just...
I think we've all had that thought, and we're all heading in the same direction, aren't we? I suppose at the end of the day.
Unfortunately, age is only a one-way street. There's your deep quote of the day. Anyway, the next category I want to talk about is Krystof. We'll lead with you. Are there any surprise inclusions in your squad?
The problem this year is that we really struggle with injuries. So, for example, they couldn't include Lukáš Provod, who is considered by me and I think most of the Czech fans as one of the best players in the team. And he had a really great season, both for Slavia Praha and as well for the national team. I think you remember his goal against Belgium. That was the only goal that Czech team scored, and we ended up drawing 1-1. But if there is one surprise, one player who didn't get called up, and that actually shocked me a bit, is Bořek Dočkal, who used to be a long-term captain for the national team. He was ruled out from the nomination for the last European qualifiers for the World Cup, but still to not call up such an experienced player for a tournament this big, I feel like even though if he would only sit on the bench, I still feel like that Jaroslav Šilhavý should have pulled him into the final nomination, because this is the kind of a player you want to have in your squad just because of the experience he has. So that was one surprise for me. Other surprise is the goalkeeper of Sigma Olomouc, Mandos, who actually got called up for the first time ever for such a huge tournament. And he actually is a good goalkeeper, but he is also quite lucky because the third option, Ondřej Kolář, got injured. So that's the only reason why he got called up. But I feel like although he probably wouldn't start in any game, it would be a great tournament for him. Just the experience of such a huge tournament could be a potentially great asset to his, I believe, very prospectful career. So yeah, so these two are the biggest surprises for me.
Great stuff. James, are you surprised by anyone that's actually made into the English squad? Because it seems like everyone who plays in the Premier League has been called up to your squad.
Yeah, and if that happens, then you can almost guarantee they've been at least talked up rather than sort of called up and stuff. And yeah, as you say, it's one of those where I think maybe a couple of sort of more surprising inclusions maybe last week in the 33-man squad were Ben Godfrey and Ben White from Everton and Brighton respectively. I don't think it was necessarily a surprise in terms of how they played this season, because they've both been very good this season, and I think they've both been called up because at least partially the concerns over Maguire. Sorry, that was me just plugging my laptop. And yeah, so it's one of those where those were perhaps two more surprising inclusions, but aside from that, I don't think there's anyone who sort of you'd look at and they all basically feel very worthy of being in there. One surprise sort of exclusion perhaps was Eric Dyer to some extent, who I feel like it was the right decision probably not to include him, because, and I think Southgate said in his press conference last week, his season for Spurs this year probably unfortunately just hasn't quite been strong enough. But he does offer something different in terms of he's someone who's generally been pretty capable at centre back and in defensive midfield, and he can play right back as well. So he's good in terms of someone who can fill in positions if we end up being short. But yeah, I think unfortunately probably just didn't do quite enough this season. So yeah, and again we'll probably have more of an idea sort of tomorrow and late this week once it's been cut down. Like, there's been a few noises on social media and in a couple of articles tonight about who might not get into the squad, and a couple of rumours about possibly Trent and Mason Greenwood not getting in. Whether those are true or not, obviously we'll have to see. But it wouldn't be maybe as surprising that as it would have been a few months ago, given kind of obviously Trent being left out of the squad in March and stuff. I hope they both do go personally, because I think they're both two very good and different options. Potentially could be very valuable off the bench in terms of just offering a different sort of angle of attack and something extra for opponents to think about. But yeah, I think it feels like a lot of the selections in the 33-man squad, most people have generally been in line with. So yeah, so just got to hope that we get a nice balance in the 26, I suppose. Tomori and Conte are actually two who people have spoken about before I forget. They could have been two very worthy inclusions at centre back, but yeah, you can't please everyone inevitably. It's a fabulous task.
And Anita, is there anyone you are surprised by in the inclusion in the Croatian squad?
Not really. Maybe some of the younger players who got invited, like Luka Ivanušić from Dinamo, who got invitation before Lovro Majer, who is made to look like a next Luka Modric, and he got the pre-invitation, pre-call. How do you call it? He's on the backup list, but Ivanušić is in the first squad. Yeah, there are lots of players from Croatian League this year around, so which is really a good thing to see. Like Guardiol from Dinamo as well, and some players from Osijek and Hajduk who are not as famous as Dinamo is at the moment. But other than that, I mean, pretty much standard teams, players that have been involved in the European qualifications, and some have been on the World Cup as well. Not many shocks or surprise invitations. There has been addition to the management team. Vedran Čorluka has been added as assistant manager to provide the experience from someone who has been part of this team for a very long time and experienced a lot, which our manager Dalic was never a part of the first national team. So this has to bring the experience from playing on big tournaments and how the team is working and how to communicate with players and all of that. So it's a really nice addition to Ivica Olic, who is also a part of the team for a while now, and now Čorluka, who is a bit younger and still remembers how it was not so long ago in the team, and knows many of these players as well. But other than that, hopefully no more injuries before the start of the Euros. And I think that it's a really a good team. Of course, just like James said, you can please everyone. There will always be someone who say, "Why didn't you invite him? Why did you call him?" Like there was I don't know if you guys seen Borna Sosa, who plays for Stuttgart. There was a little controversy around him because he announced that he will be playing for Germany. He has dual citizenship. He's a left back and really good one, young one, and there were expectations that he would play for Croatia. He picked Germany, but then there was a mistake from German side. He isn't eligible to play for Germany because he played for under 21s for Croatia. So he's now left from Germany and from Croatia, which never not without controversy here.
Oh no, definitely. That's always a funny thing, though. I mean, we often take players that are not good enough to play for England, but that's because they've got a chance to play at the Euros this time.
We have lots of them who have been like born in Germany or other countries because of our really widespread diaspora and all that. They often come to play for Croatia. Like, I mean, even Rakitic, one of the most best ones. I'm still sad that Christian Pulisic didn't choose to play for Croatia, but for the United States, I think that he would fit in perfectly as key man in our midfield. But you can't have them all.
No, we can't. Unfortunately not. I mean, we had Aidan McGeady. He seems the most Scottish footballer alive, but he chose to play for Ireland instead. Anyway, for us, I was actually quite surprised with a couple of the Scottish inclusions. Jack Hendry being one who was picked earlier on in the year, and he started the first game against Austria we played this year, and he's on loan from Celtic to Ostende in Belgium, and he's one of the main catalysts to why Ostende are so high in the Belgian league. But it's good to see him back. Also, I was actually surprised that David Turnbull, Billy Gilmore, and even young Nathan Patterson got called up, because I think one critique of our manager is the fact that he relies on his players that have played well previously, and he's not really looked to the youth previously. But now because the squad was allowed to go up to 26, I think he brought in the extra young talent, and it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a great experience for David Turnbull to rock up to the Euros, turn England inside out, and that'd be fantastic.
I hope that doesn't happen, but I mean, you look at him, it was difficult sort of not to be delighted for him in like November, when I think that was possibly one of the best facial expressions I've ever seen, sort of after, when he saves the penalty, and then he's just like, yeah, have we? I just tell me, and yeah, I mean, he's been brilliant for Scotland in that scenario, and I think from what people say, he's been consistently excellent over recent months as well.
Anita, what is the rivalry like between Croatia and Serbia?
Croatia and Serbia? Well, I mean, obviously it's not really friendly, even though it has been really a while since the war ended and all of that, but still tensions are always high here. And yeah, the matches here and there are always a trouble, and I was really worried that they might go through to the Euros and into our group. So I was really glad when they didn't, because I'm always worried for the fans and for the the hysteria, all the hooliganism and all of that, and it's never a nice look for us, and for the FA gets punished, the players get pissed or get punished, and it's really best to avoid situations like that.
Absolutely. So thank goodness that Scotland are in the.
Yeah, really happy for that.
Another reason to celebrate, isn't it?
I thought you were going to ask me about the rivalry with England, because it has been developing for a while.
Right. But
I've played each other quite a few times over the years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But now I'm going to ask you, this is the final question I've got for the podcast. What are your predictions for this group? This is where we're going to come into some arguments. Krystof, you go first, mate.
All right. Well, I love to be an optimist, and I love making some bold calls. So let's see. As for the group, don't get your hopes too high up. So first place in our group, I feel like England is gonna win the group. And to be fair, this year I feel like it's coming home. So let's just.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm just being realistic, and when should it happen if not this year with the final being played at Wembley? I mean, England has some extra motivation this year, so yeah, I feel like it's coming home. Second place in the group, and now that's when I believe that us and Croatia will be battling for this one. The game against Scotland, that's our opening game of the tournament. It's a must-win for us, right? We have to win this game. 3 points and nothing else. And then the game against Croatia comes up, and that's going to be very difficult. I would be extremely happy for a draw from that one. But I wouldn't be surprised if we actually won the game. But it's going to be very difficult, and that's going to be the key fixture in the whole group stage. And then the game against England, we've got nothing to lose. So we already won against England in the European qualifiers in Prague. That was a really amazing game, and I would love to see this happening again. But given the fact that that game is being played at Wembley, where we miserably lost in the first tie of the qualifiers, I just feel like I think we're going to finish the group with 4 points, which should put us on the second or the third place.
Mhm.
But we need to see and wait how the rest of the group pans out.
Interesting stuff. I mean, at least fourth is better than fifth. We'll just say that. So, James, what is your prediction for our group?
Well, I like Krystof's prediction. I should say first of all, but I'll agree. I'll join him on putting England top. It's not. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a proper sort of graft. I think, like all three games potentially, because we've seen, I think, what all three teams can offer over the years. Like Krystof mentioned, the game in the Czech Republic last year. I think was it March last year, and it was a really good display from them. Like you could tell sort of the way they managed to control elements of the game, sort of how strong a side they are. And I think they've come on since then as well. I think they're a better team now than they were then, from what I've seen. So that obviously speaks volumes. So say England first, Croatia second. I think it is tough to call, because I think Croatia. You do wonder if maybe the experience element could help them here. Obviously, they've got consistent experience of getting relatively far within tournaments, and I think that's really interesting what Anita says about Korluka as well. That sounds like a really shrewd move just to bring him in, sort of top up on experience. And he's obviously presumably a face who a lot of the players will have either known previously, like obviously he'll have been a teammate for the likes of Modric, but also a player who will have been looked up to by some of the younger lads as well. So I'll say England, Croatia, and then Czech Republic in third, Scotland fourth. But it's so tight. And I mean, if you guys, as you say, that first game, so if the group pans out something like that first game between Scotland and the Czech Republic looks, as you've both said already, sort of so key potentially. But yeah, it's one of those where I feel like if you ask me this time next week, I could come up with something quite different as well. I think it will just be. I think England will edge it. Then yeah, Croatia, Czech Republic, and I'd back Czech Republic to get one of those third place slots as well. That ends up being the way it pans out. But yeah, have to see how it edges.
Anita, please save me. Get a
I I don't know. Krystof really made a good point about Czech Republic. He intrigued me when he said that they might be a surprise of this competition. There's always some kind of surprise at the Euros, and who knows what will happen. But I still think that Scotland have a really good chance because of the home advantage. I think that will really make a big difference in this group. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with James' prediction. That's what I was going to say: England, Croatia, Czech Republic, and Scotland. But I don't think that you will get 0 points. I think that you will be at least 1 or even 3 points, and then a small difference. I think that Croatia has this tendency to play against big teams really well and then struggle against smaller teams, to say so. I mean, the World Cup group, we beat Argentina 3-0, and then basically struggled against some weaker teams that I'd expect. And England is the first match, the opening match. We always look good on the biggest stage in the opening match. We almost beat Brazil on the opening of the World Cup there, so that's really a positive sign for me, although it is really the toughest match. I think that we still have a really good chance here against England. And I often feel with Croatia, same as I feel with watching Arsenal in Premier League as well. When it clicks, it works really well, and all players, go well together. And then comes a bad day, and you can string 2 or 3 passes together. So it will depend on that as well. But I think that definitely going through to the group is definitely going to happen for Croatia and England, who are one of the favorites of the tournament, even though I hope that they fail at some point. No offense, James. I'm not a big fan.
Right, so it's my turn for my prediction. So,
now you put Scotland first.
no, I don't want Scotland to finish first in the group, because then we'll have to play either Germany, Portugal, or France in the next round. So I think, I'm going to speak with my heart here. I'm going to say Croatia to top the group, England to finish second, Scotland third, but I don't think we'll go through. Third, but I don't think we'll go through. And Czech Republic fourth. Sorry, Krystof. But
those were some bold calls, mate.
They are bold calls, but I have reasoning behind them. I'm hoping we sneak a 1-0 against the Czech Republic on the first game. England have been crowing about it, coming home ever since 1966. They've got the tournament in their back garden. The stage is set for them to balls up.
Yeah, I agree.
Every game's a home game for them. And England never finish a group with 9 points. So Croatia's the game for them to slip up. And then they'll have to scramble to get something off us, because we're going to make a game of it at Wembley, because there is no way we're going to just sit and lie down to England. So even if we get beat 3-2 or something like that, as long as it's a good game, give us something to cheer about. I don't mind. And I reckon we might get a draw against Croatia. But there we go. That's me just speaking from the heart.
I think that England might have an issue with big personalities in the team as well, because all of these players are really big names in their clubs, in the whole leagues, and there might be really a big issue there, I think. But we'll see how that will pan out. I also believe that they won't go that far to win the whole competition.
Yeah, it has sort of been at least perceived to be an issue in the past as well. That kind of thing. I suppose it's difficult to sort of get a sense of how much of an issue it actually is without sort of being inside a camp at times. But yeah, inevitably, there's obviously, it's going to be strange to a certain extent when you've been competing so fiercely with so many of your teammates for so much of the year, and then it's a bit of a change of mindset. I do think Southgate seems to create a really, really good environment, and quite a different environment to previous managers. But yeah, I suppose think time will tell. It is a fine balancing act. It's a real skill getting that right, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully you did any success.
I can understand the sentiment. You know, it's one of those where I think it's just going to be so such an interesting tournament and so interesting to see sort of the different. A lot of it is about managing personalities, as well as abilities, I suppose.
I mean, usually every other summer, when we're asked about who we want to see win the tournament, we always say anyone but England, but now we're actually there and actually involved. Fantastic. We'll be saying anyone but England after the third group game. That's it.
You never know.
But yeah, anyway, I would like to thank my panel of Krystof.
It was a pleasure to be here, mate. Thank you for having me, and good luck to all the teams, everyone involved, and hopefully it will be a great tournament.
Yeah, and Krystof, where can we find you on the internet?
On Instagram, it's my name is Tofik, spelled my name is Tofik, and also I run a great page called Halftime. So on Instagram again, @official halftime, or put it on Facebook as well. Absolutely fantastic, the best football page there is in the world. So yeah, go give it a follow right now. Give it a follow.
Yeah, links in the description. James, where can we find you on the internet?
I suppose the best place probably to look is Twitter. I'm at James_Noble98. Yeah, so just a relatively standard Twitter account, but there's normally articles on there through one of the pages I do stuff for Liverpool. Coby, which is a Liverpool fan website. So yes, that's probably the best place. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well. But yeah, Twitter's probably the best place. And yeah, thanks for having me again, obviously. And great to answer this. Really looking forward to the Euros. Should be great, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. And Anita, where can we find you on the internet?
I'm the most active on Twitter. Too much active, some would say. And my name there is Arsenalovka. It's Arsenal OFKA, sorry. And the same nickname is on Instagram as well, but Twitter will be the best. That's where I comment the matches and all of that. I will be actually working on printable fixtures list for Euros, so we'll be sharing that on my Twitter, which you can download and print, and old school a bit to fill in the results and all of that.
I haven't found any wall charts at all for this year's tournament yet in Scotland, so that would be worth inventing.
I do that for Arsenal every single season and for the big competitions as well, so it's a bit of a tradition.
Brilliant. But yeah, thank you once again to my panel for coming on. And I've been your host, Goggs89, about which you were. See you later, guys, and hopefully we'll have a successful Euros.